If the race roles was reversed, I feel like this would have gone down a different route.
Today I'm going to tell you why this girl is 100% correct.
Going up on the Tuesday.
So some of you may have already heard about this story. This was a story that broke last week. It was about a psycho roommate and what she did to her roommate. And I'm going to tell you guys their story. And I also am going to tell you guys my story. As some of you probably have already heard, I think my roommate video has quite a bit of views. So if you haven't seen it, I posted it a few years ago. I'll link it below if you want to hear the whole thing. But I will kind of just give you a little brief overview. This story is really crazy. And I think it resonated with me so much because I can relate to it so much. Like, almost exactly what happened to this girl happened to me. So I really sympathize with her, and I think this story needs to be told. So like I said, this story broke last week, and it is about a girl named Jazzy Rowe, who was a college student who attended Hartford University in Connecticut. So far, everything about this, I have to say, is mainly from Jazzy. Like, I don't think we have much of the other girl's story, but this girl, I can tell, I watched her video on it. She made a whole video to the internet about what happened to her, and I can just tell she's telling the truth, in my opinion. I think we'll probably get more details. So basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not gonna have like a ton of like solidified facts or like a timeline. This isn't gonna be like a normal crime video as much as I'm just gonna pass along the story and then share mine a little bit. So Jazzy was a freshman and she was paired up with a roommate. So if you didn't know, in college they normally pair you up with someone random to be a roommate. There are some schools that are catching on to like, you know, newer things where you try to match up based on similar interests and stuff, but this was, I believe, just a completely random matchup. And Jazzy was living with a girl named Brianna Brochu. I don't know if I'm saying that right, maybe it's Brochu, I don't really know. Basically, her story really got out there though because she made a video, which I'm so glad she did. More people should share their stories when they're not getting enough actual help in real life, because once you get, you know, people on the internet to hear what's going on, a lot of the times things can move, and that's what forced the school to do something eventually. So good on her for, you know, standing up for herself, making a video, because she was told not to. In fact, she was actually told that if she spoke about this anymore, she could be removed from campus housing, which is a total lie. I don't know who the fuck told her that. So basically, from what she said, it sounds like from the beginning, Brianna was just not nice to Jazzy.
So I basically felt like I was unwanted in my own room. You know, like I was ignored. I acted like I was like a ghost in my own room, you know? Like I was disrespected. The person was to walk into the room and sees me doing work, like she'll turn off the light and just walk out, and just like a whole bunch of petty, disrespectful stuff. But me, I never said anything because I don't want to start any conflict. I'll easily like just turn on my personal light, you know what I'm saying?
That she could just sense the tension, and I totally get that. I'm a person that really senses like negative energy coming towards me, like big time. I can just feel it when someone has like ill intentions or doesn't like me, and I think she was, you know, starting to pick up on that and didn't feel welcome in her room, and which is a horrible feeling, because when you come into a school, a brand new place, you're used to living with your family or possibly friends or whoever, and then you're moved in with this random person, and not only is it a random person, but they're fucking mean to you. It's very upsetting that this honestly could be a hate crime. Jazzy is obviously a woman of color, and her roommate was a white girl, and Jazzy believes, and I believe this too, that she was purposely targeting Jazzy because she was a woman of color. That she didn't want to live with her because of that, and that there was some racist mindset going on. And she initially wasn't aware that there was anything actually going on or anything happening to her other than just her being rude until she started to get sick. And she was sick on and off for like a month. Her throat got so bad that she was unable to speak. So she thought she just had some horrible, you know, cold something, virus, flu, and that stuff, it does go around campus, especially around this time of year. So like, I guess it wouldn't like really trigger you right away to think someone may have done something to you.
While I've been here, I've been getting sick. Not knowing why I've been getting sick. It started with throat pain, and I thought maybe because it's colder up here, I'm just probably catching a cold. You know what I'm saying? But usually when I catch a cold, it starts in my throat, and then I get the other, like the actual cold. I realized I didn't get the actual cold, you know what I'm saying? And the sore throat pain got worse, and it was just throat pain. To the point where I had extreme throat pain that I couldn't sleep, to the point where I couldn't speak. Like I would try to whisper, and I could barely whisper.
So she went to the student like clinic, and they gave her antibiotics, and then they ran tests, and they found that something had been growing in her throat, some sort of bacteria. So eventually Jazzy decided to move out of her room because she just felt unwanted and unwelcomed in her own space, and she didn't want to do that bullshit anymore. So she moved. Brianna asked her like, whoa, are you moving and everything? And then she said yes. And then a little while later, one of Jazzy's friends texted her and said, hey, you need to see this. Look at this post on social media. And here it is. Finally did it. Yo girl got rid of her roommate. After 1.5 months of spitting in her coconut oil, putting moldy clam dip in her lotions, rubbing used tampons on her backpack, putting her toothbrush where the sun don't shine, and much more, I can finally say goodbye to Jamaican Barbie. So first of all, that statement right there proves that she had something against her because of her race.
The paragraph says so much stuff she's done, and at the same time, she says she's done so much more. I don't know the so much more. I've been using my toothbrush for how long? She says she puts my toothbrush places the sun doesn't shine. The fact that I have blood where I sleep and I didn't know. I've been using my coconut oil.
So I definitely think this could be a hate crime, and she admitted to doing all those things. So that is obviously what had been making her sick, and that's exactly what happened to me. This is just disgusting, and I relate to this girl so much and feel for her so much because this was a while back for me. This was like, what, 2011 that I went through this. So it's been like 6 years. I'm obviously fine now, but at the time it was very upsetting. And I'll tell you guys why, but I understand what it feels like to think that this like your stuff has been messed with, that you've been consuming like bodily fluids. I went through this shit, man. I know exactly how she feels. So the school, I believe, just gave them like a temporary just no contact agreement, and I was given one of those too. She eventually went and filed a police report and everything, which is good. That's what I had to do because I wasn't getting a ton of help through the school, although I was getting a lot more help than she was. And the school was like totally lame about it. Like I said, the RAs were telling her she couldn't talk about it. So nothing has happened yet so far, like with actual case. This is gonna go to court and everything. And Brianna has been arrested, which is good. So it sounds like because of her making this video, bringing this to public light, that she was able to get some help and get this somewhat resolved. I mean, it's still at the beginning of this. They're gonna have to go through a lot. But you know, it just shows you the power of the internet. I'm not gonna get into too many of the details of the story. I will link some helpful articles below if you wanna know more details about the whole story and what happened. But I really do wanna talk about this as a race issue. But when I was in college, my roommate actually was a woman of color, and she would often refer to me as white girl. This girl literally tormented me. She would post social media posts with like flipping off the camera to her Facebook and, you know, be like, this is to my roommate. She would leave trash outside of my door. She put Nair in my shampoo and conditioner, which not only could make all my hair fall out, it also could have severely damaged my eyes. And she peed in my mouthwash, which I had used for weeks and got really sick. I thought I had stomach ulcers. So yeah, I completely understand how she was feeling. My roommate also wiped her ass and bodily fluids on our stuff, our belongings, my other roommate's belongings. The fact that this girl had the nerve to put her bloody tampon all over a backpack, and Jazzy had no idea. It was literally above her at night, and she was like breathing in these fumes and had no idea because she wasn't currently using that bag. There were even times where like Jazzy would be eating and Brianna would film her on her Snapchat and post it to whatever fucking followers she had and say, she has no idea what I did to her utensils. So like reality is, there could be way more than Jazzy even knows of. And she's like at this point where she's like, do I just throw everything out, or like, what can you trust? And I totally went through that. I was questioning everything that I had, and like, what did she do to my stuff? And finding out that someone has been secretly messing with you like that, and you've been like, it's such, I don't even know how to explain it. It is the most awful feeling in the world. I felt so sick. Like for a while, if I even thought about it, I would get like completely nauseous. Now what I do want to say is, you know, Jazzy said that if the roles were reversed, this probably wouldn't have happened the same way or wouldn't have been handled the same way. And I completely agree with her, because as a white girl, I was treated with urgency. You know, I brought this to court. I got a restraining order. You know, I had difficulty with the RAs as well, because they don't like to deal with drama, and they just, you know, it's not what they just want to hush it down. And my RAs definitely did that. But as soon as I got the legal system involved and, you know, filed a restraining order and brought her to court, and I could have pressed charges, but I chose not to because I was a college freshman. I had way too much on my plate to worry about pressing charges against someone. So I decided to let that go, but I wanted a restraining order and I wanted her removed from campus because I was not going to live on a campus with someone like that. Plus, I had a restraining order where she wasn't allowed to be within 50 feet of me. The process to get that restraining order took a while, but once it went through, the school acted accordingly. They called me, they asked like, what do you think? And I was like, well, you know, she can't legally be anywhere near me and this is a small campus, so eventually she's going to break the restraining order. And they removed her from the school. She was expelled from the university. She also had a hold against her so that she couldn't attend any other universities without getting a mental health check. And that was it for me. That was it. I didn't have to deal with it again. And you know, I had very sympathetic people around me. I had to bring RAs to court. It was like a huge thing in my life that happened. And I really believe that if the roles were reversed and I was black and my roommate was white, that I probably wouldn't have gotten the same help. That's just reality. I was a white girl being attacked by a black girl and they fucking helped me because of that. And Jazzy is being maliciously attacked by a white girl who clearly has racial bias and issues with that. And she was told to shut up about it.
The people who are in charge of the residential life on campus come to me to collect my old room key. Come to me, knock on the door, I give them the old room key, I sign it out. Instead of taking the old room key, signing it out, and going about their business, they say, oh, I just want to reassure you about the no contact agreement. So I'm like, oh yeah, I already know, because when I signed the no contact agreement, it's like 4 bullets, and the lady who I signed it with, I made sure I questioned every single one of them bullets, so I don't, you know, go against it. Well, just to let you know, the situation is over, so don't speak about it or else you can be removed from the residential side of campus. Basically saying I can't live on campus. Like that will happen if I speak about the situation and saying the situation's over. How's the situation over? The situation just started.
So that's the problem here. That's a big problem with our society. This is a problem overall, and white privilege is absolutely real, and this is a pure example of it. I had pretty much the same thing happen to me, and I got way different treatment than she did. And yes, the girl had a problem with me being white. She would call me white girl and everything like that, but at the end of the day, I haven't had to deal with much of that in my life at all, if ever, other than this. So this is something that people of color deal with on the reg. I just wanted to share that story, and I want you guys to follow this, support Jazzy. There's a Justice for Jazzy hashtag going around. This girl needs our support. What happened to her was fucked up, and I hope that this is handled correctly in court and that she is actually given some justice for this. So Jazzy, if you happen to watch this, I'm supporting you, girl. Fight for yourself. You did not deserve that kind of bullshit. And anyone who messes with your stuff and your body, that's a biohazard and it should be taken extremely seriously. I'm gonna be following this case, so if you want, you can follow me on Twitter and I will tweet updates about what is happening throughout it. If you wanna watch my roommate videos, I have 2. I literally, once I got one out of the school, the second one was a different roommate who didn't do anything malicious, but it was a very odd experience that I lived through, so I will link both of those below. I hope you guys are having a great day. Please treat each other with kindness. But I wanna know what you guys think about this whole situation. Leave me a comment or tweet me. And that's it for me today, guys. I will see you later. Bye.